and you can bring in other things that appear to be distant. So what's the secret of that? So we could suggest that the basis of all, not emes, I don't want to be too heavy and say the basis of all sheker, or the basis of all not complete emes, is when there's two like entities. There's yourself and the inyan, you follow? Just like, for example, it's brought down in the Nach about a great person. Oh, by the way, he's buried over there, not far from the entrance where we came in today. Up the road is Ben Yohu Ben Yoda.
Yeah.
He's buried over there. Now
on the hill.
The posse says about him that he was a Ben Ish Chai. He was a Levitic,
a
Ben Ish Chai. So that's the expression. And so you've heard of the great Iraqi Torah authority. He was called, he was given the name Ben Ish Chai.
Right.
So I asked the question, everybody's alive and everybody can be called a Ish Chai. So why did we call him a Ben Ish Chai? And why was this great Torah figure? By the way, he was just a walking computer, the absolute, the Ben Ish Chai. He was, and he was only a couple of generations back. So why would they call him or the Ben Yoda a Ben Ish Chai? So it's brought down in Sfarim, and even mentioned in Chassidus, that normally there's you, and then there's your chayut. You is your body, or your basic, what we might call physical, sort of part. And then there's the chayas of your nefesh, which goes into you. Yeah. So normally speaking, they remain like two entities. They remain like, you are what you are, and your chayas goes into you, and if you use it properly and you work it yourself, so you become to realize a bit about your chayas, you become sensitive to it, you do things which will promote it, and you're aware of it and you value it very much. But basically, you and your chayas are two separate things. But if you and your chayas are not two separate things, but you and your neshama, let's say, befrat your neshama elokis, they become one unit, and whenever you refer to him, if you touch him, you are touching both things united together. You're touching him and his neshama, befrat his neshama elokis, are all one thing. Yeah? You know the story. Suddenly woke up and two of them were sitting having a bit of a sort of a siesta here. So you know the story about the Mittler Rebbe. You don't know? I'm sure you do.
I probably do. Yeah.
You just say
Which one?
you can't know all story.
Yeah.
That the Tzemach Tzedek said about the Mittler Rebbe that if you cut his finger, it wouldn't go blood. What would go? Chassidus. So, he wasn't just exaggerating, he wasn't just trying to be sort of humorously, exaggerative, exaggerate a bit on a humorous basis. He meant something. It's like the Rebbetzin Rivka said about the Rebbe Rashab, her son. She said, my son never says a joke, even when he's talking humorously, he doesn't mean a joke, He's saying absolute truth, but he's saying it in a way that people will smile. Yeah. But he's not saying something which is not, emes. So, Konta is that the Mittler Rebbe and his Chassidus The Mittler Rebbe and his Chassidus were all one thing.
That's why I was bleeding Chassidus.
In other words, if you would have cut his finger, the Chassidus would have come out. Now, would you say that about Chaim Yankel? I'm talking about anybody.
Oh, yeah.
Not necessarily anybody in particular, but
Yeah.
you know, would you even have the gumption to say it about yourself? Because, you know, you are one thing, and your Ruchnias, and especially your Chassidus, is another thing. You know, it's very high and very elevated. So, but somebody who's really in the game, he and his Chassidus become one inseparable unity, so that his body and his Ruchnias are all one, even though they're very tremendously different. They're merachok, one from the other, but they become united, and that's emes, you follow? Emes is that you and the thing become one Inyan, absolutely, you follow? And you and the Inyan are inseparable. So, to the point that if you were to cut yourself, then that Inyan would come out. You know, that's the final, ultimate speciality of the whole idea. So that's why the Ben Yehoyada, he was called a Ben Ish Chai. He and the Chayas were not two things. You follow? He was a Ben of a Ish, meaning, you know, the embodiment of Chayas. He and Chayas Eloki were all one thing. And therefore, he had a Chayas in what he did, incomparably different to what we have Chayas. You know, so, we might have Chayas because of enthusiasm and that, but he had it because he was that, you know. He had reached the point where he lived, mamish, what he was about, you know.
Wow.
But think about it, yeah. This is this whole idea of Emmet. So, we're running a little short of time, so I'm going to sort of get to the main point. What I'm suggesting and what I'm trying to sort of get at here, what does Moshe Rabbeinu, what does he want here with this? He said, I've got you guys all. Oh, and that leads to a further question. Let's say these people were Neshomas, all the Doyer Saboyim, that he's making this agreement. I mean, how do you make an agreement with a Neshoma? A Neshoma never entered the world yet, doesn't have to do with the whole thing. You know, it's a how do you call it, a detached entity. How can you make a bris in this world, you know, in Judah things in this world, that with a Neshoma? You follow?
Interesting.
Elamai, we have to say that we can ask, in today's parsha, it mentions the Pasuk of Tanya, you know the famous quip that Chassidus of Bocha, he knows of a Pasuk, because it's mentioned in Tanya, you know. The famous Tanya Pasuk is mentioned towards the end of this. Ki korev elecha hadova ma'id beficha u'belvovcha la'asoto is mentioned one of the final psukim in the parsha.
Is it Yud Tet?
Yeah. So, Tanya has got a connection with this parsha. So I want to ask you a simple question on the Tanya, but from the beginning. What's written at the beginning? The Alter brings a Gemara, Botana Masechta Nida, that says that the Neshoma, before the Neshoma comes into the world, that's what it would appear, that it's given a oath, that it called an oath, yeah. mashbian, I say, we give it, almost we oblige it, we I don't know quite how to say it, we make this oath, absolutely obligatory on the neshama prior to coming into the world. Tehei tzadik v'hol tehei roshan v'filu kol ha'olam oimrim lecha tiyeh beinecha kol rosh. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
What are you telling a neshama? What's a neshama got to do? And also, the Gemara says just before that when the neshama is inside the mother's womb, inside the embryo in the mother's womb, teach it the whole Torah. It's got a light burning on its head. We teach it the whole Torah Kula. What is it? What does it have to do with the whole Torah Kula? And how does it learn it? It's on neshama. It doesn't have a body yet. What are all these inyanim about? Elamai. The Chorah we have to say, just by way of Paul's suggestion, that we have to say that the neshama of a yid is not just something. That a neshama is already in some way aware, and it has a certain commitment or knowledge in itself what it's really doing, being a neshama.
Right.
And then ultimately it knows that it's going to... So you might say, well, how do you know that? Because the Gemara says that Yisrael kodmu l'kol davar. The neshamas of the Yidden, they were before everything. Yeah. And when Hashem created the world, and He made the world for two things, for Yisrael and the Torah, the Gemara says in Psochim, what was, well, it doesn't ask Tavke on that, but asks what were the things that were prior to the world, and it says Yisrael was one of them, and the Medrash says, which one was first? It says the Yidden, yeah? And it's written that Hashem asked them for a Eita, should He create the world, or should He, Hashem...
So we said yes.
Yeah, He wasn't sure. And He asked them, what do they say? They're neshamas. So it's a sign, and that's very primordial. That's before He began anything, or maybe before the symptom or something. It's very, very early that He would ask such a question.
Yeah.
Who gave Him the answer? The neshamas. So the neshamas, l'chora, are not just any old, how do you call it, how fellow well met. No, the neshamas have already a primordial, as it were, commitment, as we might say, understanding and readiness for this whole thing. And somehow or another, because they're so close to Hashem, they were able to realize that what He had in Kavyochel in mind. They were able to sort of foresee the ultimate purpose and to go along with that, and to recommend to Hashem that He go ahead. Yeah, and then there's another very surprising medrash that the Emma said not to go ahead, and that's a little bit sort of difficult, but I'm not going to go into that right now. Suffice it to say that the neshamas, so maybe we could suggest that there's something in a Jewish neshama that knows what is the ultimate purpose. There's a certain sense there. In other words, that the neshama, before it comes down to the world, is like in a way that it's already got a knowledge and a connection with the world. It's like a neshama in a body that's not really there yet, but it knows what is going on. So therefore, you can tell the neshama what we expect of it, and in order to do that, so you might say, well, that's wonderful, but it's not actually a neshama in a body. It's not actually there. in the guf. And so, what's the point of giving it? So it comes along the Siddur, and the Siddur says that there's another reason why I give you a breath. Not just an obligation, but by making that breath, and you become like one part of this other person, or whoever you're making the breath with, that's a form of Nasinas Koya, how do you call it? That's like a giving of power beyond normal limitations. If you know that you've bound yourself up in such a way that you become almost one thing with the Nation HaBriz, in this case it's Hashem, then that gives you powers and gives you confidence and power that normally you wouldn't have. You follow? Let's make a suggestion now. If that's the case, then the neshama, as it were, having this realization of what it's going to be in a group, and in a way already being in a group, it already realizes what is the ultimate, tachlis. But then it says to Hashem, but listen, where am I going to get the koyah, to hold out, Then a shoma being up there is able to see what, to have a very cosmic vision of what this world's all about.
Yeah.
It had to call it, it knows what is going on.
Yeah.
So therefore it says to Hashem, where am I going to have the koyah, to do that? So therefore Hashem says, I'm making out bread. I've made with you, and even though you're only on a shoma, but you know what's going on, I'm going to make a breath with you that we become one thing. We all join together, and I'm giving you koyah through that you'll be able to face who knows what. You'll be able to live over all the inyanim, you follow? And therefore, even though you're not actually in the body, but you're getting koichas that will make you able to enter the body, and you, as it were, are not like any other entity. You know a bit about this, and not just a bit, because I asked you whether I would get involved in this right from the beginning. You said, yeah. Because the neshama is a committed and informed, in a way, entity, and it knows all about it. All it needs is just to be given a lot of koyah. So they've said, I'm making that koyah. I got everybody standing here, and those who are standing here, they're already in the pekel. You follow? They're already in the pekel. And you guys that are not here yet, you also are different. You're sort of like you're here, even though you're not here, but you are, really. I'm involving you, I'm giving you guys koyah, that you will also be able to, and each generation is going to maybe need a different type of koyah, a different type of nasinas koyah. I'm putting all that into now, the overall babriz, what am I basically doing? I'm giving you guys emes, you follow? I'm making that you and your commitment and your inyan of Torah all become one thing. You become a living entity which you are all one. You follow? The Torah and all its obligations are not like two separate. You're what you are, and you've got an obligation in Torah, but you and the Torah and all its obligations all become one entity. You follow? Atem, emes, Nitzavim, it's being put away very strongly. It's all becoming one thing. So with that you might say, well, that's pretty, that sounds rather, but I'm going to finish off with something even more than that. And what does that imply? That implies that if you're really Torah mensch, then you and your Torah are all one. And that's in and of emes. You are not like two entities that are working together. but you're one perfection
Joint.
that the both of you have joined together, and it's your body and your tooth are all one absolute unit. And that's Emma, yeah. Oh, well, if somebody's like that, then what happens to him when he passes away? What is the pshat that he passes away? I mean, the neshama
Doesn't pass away.
doesn't pass away, l'chora. What passes away
The body.
is the body, l'chora. Or if the body is united, emes, yeah, with the neshama, then
Where's it?
what's going on around here?
Yeah.
You follow?
So where's the shaman
So
going?
we have to say,
The loose bone.
but, you know, for lack of a better, that the whole idea of so-called death is only temporary, and ultimately everything is
Right.
going to come back,
Right.
and then that'll help a bit. That will make it. That'll make it good. That maybe you weren't holding absolutely by Emma's, so there was still a little bit of a gap. So the body is parted from Nisham, but they're going to get back together
Right.
with Hashem's help, But Tchias
Amen.
amazing. Yeah,
Amen.
Tchias amazing. The kunto is that somebody that his whole life has been Emma, he's united, that he's brought together, and he's been able to go out to distant people and bring them in and everything. What happens with him? He's all one thing, yes. So therefore the Gemara says, Yaakov Avinu lo made.
Yeah.
Can't say how did he pass away? His whole thing was one absolute elikud, And same it says in Masechta Sota, Moshe Rabbeinu lo made, he also didn't pass away. And I don't need to go into the whole thing, but we can argue this in reference to many of the great tzaddikim.
Yeah.
And possibly even to really great people that maybe weren't all that famous, but they did the job very faithfully,
Yeah.
that somewhere or another their body and their soul didn't part in what you might call the usual way. You follow? They can't. They're all one entity. They're all joined together.
Right.
They're not two separate entities. The Chassidus is his blood, That's him. And he's Elikus. What's going to be with him? So therefore, if you look over there in Rashi, in Parsha Vayechi, was written that Yaakov Avinu, that he called expired. Rashi says it's not written the word Misa, it's not written that he passed away. But Omer Razal, Yaakov Avinu lo meis. Stop, finish. That's Rashi over there. Rashi, the Rabbi tells us that the whole time, based on the great early authorities, that Rashi's talking for Ben Chomesh. He's talking for a 5-year-old boy. So if you're talking for a 5-year-old boy, what did you say? It's not written the word Misa. Why can't our sages tell us he didn't pass away? That's it. So, normally speaking, you would expect a child to say, but, what do you mean he didn't pass away? Where is he? What's going on with it? Put in a bit of explanation, say something,
Right.
add something, bring up proof. The Gemara brings up proof, say something. Rashi just says, no, Yaakov lo made. Is a simon that if you're a bit naive and you're a ben chomish lemikra, you're like a 5-year-old boy, you don't really need a great deal of explanation. It could make sense to you, He and his neshama and Hashem's will are all one thing. They're all absolute unity. They just keep being there. You understand? Yaakov lo made. And what is Yaakov Avinu's midah? Emes. Titain emes liYaakov Yaakov is the infant Tiferes,
Right.
and Tiferes is Emes. Tiferes is union of the two opposites. Chesed and Gvura. You can only hold by that through Emes. Uniting the two things together. So then we come back to Atem. And Atem, there's certain people that their Atem is Emes. They just keep going. Shalom Aleichem. So, that's what Moshe Rabbeinu was trying to do with this prayers. And that's what we need to know before Rosh Hashanah. You know. Before Rosh Hashanah, we all come to Hashem, we all say, oh yes, you know, here we are. We all want a good year. Rightfully, everybody's perfectly privileged to want a good year, sure. But what does Hashem expect of us? A little bit of Atem Nitzavim. Take your Atem, which is really Emes, that's what it's meant to be, make it stand firm. Hayom, then we get to Rosh Hashanah. Then it'll be and what does the word Yom mean? Illumination.
Today.
That everything will be lit up differently. Hayom, yes. It'll all be, how do you call it, illuminated in a different way. Things will all start to make sense in a very different way. If you're like that, you'll be able to be makara. Even things at the end of the other page, they're all part of the same story. You can bring them all in. It's all one Emes. And therefore, we could just finish by saying that Emes is the beginning of the alphabet, the middle, and the last letter, which means the way you are at the start, that's the way you have to be in the middle, and that's the way you have to be at the end. You're all one, Adikod. You're all one perfection. Hello? You're all one. Yes. And that's what's written in the Hadikalim's Mishkan and the Beis Hamikdash, that the things have to be mikshar echad. They all have to be. When you make the covering for the Oren, it's all got to be one piece.
Right.
The same with the menorah, mikshar. Ki emes is when you embrace beam, right? All the madrigim. It's all one perfection.
Yeah.
Everything then becomes the Torah and the Gashmi has all become one inseparable entity. And therefore, if you cut his finger, what goes out is the Chassidas. Yeah, so then you can have some understanding of what does he want with Rosh Hashanah the Eivster. So you might say, well, listen, give me a bit of time, you know. So, ain't no hanami, you know, we give you a bit of time, we give you the whole hello, and then we got the slichas going right at the moment, all sorts of good things, you know. So at least, make some resolutions and everything, and Hashem will see that that's what you're aiming for one absolute perfection. And then it'll be everlasting Yom, it'll be Ha Yom. Today will be a Levitic and illuminated day. And that's what's brought down, but again, that Liosid Love, no more Choisha, you follow? The Choisha will all be reversed into Emet. Even the Choisha will be drawn in. Take you miyad mamish. Together with the Rabbi, Emes. In front of the Rabbi is Emes. Absolute. He is everything all united together. Pashta, I saw it with my eye. Can't fool me. I saw it. I saw it. And I saw Emes. That's what I saw. So have a good day, gentlemen.
Okay, have a good day.
But she's always fight battle. So I'm writing you a picnic menu or something. It's not a picnic game.
But the ego seems to be always
It's not a picnic game. You got to work at it, but you got to know that you've got a lot of Messina Square from the bread. You know? The bread is not like we said with the Shavua that's given to the neshama. It's not just a commitment. It's also very importantly a Messina Square. You know?